but when did you actually get into like the African history? Was that something that kind of was
Okay,
taught to
so
you?
I'll tell you the history. When I was around 12 years old in Tanzania, I started reading a lot of like magazines and newspapers from the United States and from England, from Britain. And I noticed the coverage when it's referring to Africa, Africans, or African Americans, or system brothers in the Caribbean. There was always a negative connotation. I could tell, even as a 12-year-old. So when they talk about tribal issues, so when Africans talk about tribe, they say that to distinguish what part of a country they come from, right? They don't mean it in a negative way. But when Europeans say tribe or tribal, they're trying to say these are people that are less civilized than Europeans. And I could detect that, even at 12-year-old. So it bothered me a lot. And that's when I really started writing letters to the editors, And then many years later, when I finally came here, and I went to college, I remember in my English class, we were discussing the book, The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. And he has all the negative racist stereotypes about Africa that his characters speak. And the professor was enjoying it. So when the professor is enjoying it, the students are also going to be enjoying it, right? Except for me. So all these European students, right? European Americans, they're enjoying it because the professor is saying this is the greatest book written in the English language. And it's all a depiction of all the negative stereotypes, your Africans as cannibals, as savages, and all that. So I was sitting in that class uncomfortable. But this is my freshman year. I was not intellectually equipped at that time with the knowledge and the history to challenge him and say, Professor so-and-so, you're wrong. This is very racist, and let me tell you why you're wrong. But now, if I were to engage him again, of course, I would completely destroy him. So I had to sit and endure that very painful experience. But it was not till years later, as I said, when I went back to Colombia to study journalism, and that's when I said, for my master's paper, I want to research and find out how Europeans started depicting and writing about Africa, going back all the way to the 18th century, and even earlier than that, and bring it all the way to the 21st century now. And how they still depict in newspapers and magazines. And to see the correlation between that depicting and exploitation. Because when you're demonizing people, you're setting them up to exploit their labor, or to steal their resources, or to steal their country. So during the era of slavery, Europeans had to depict enslaved people as less than human beings to make it justifiable. So they can say, well, we're not really abusing other human beings because they're at a lesser level. And then when they colonize Africa, the same thing. They're not really up to our standards. So we're not really exploiting or abusing and stealing from human beings. They look like human beings, but they're not that civilized. So we can exploit them. Right.
Yeah, that's powerful what you said. I mean, it's still going on today because in 2020, I was actually in Africa during the lockdown and the pandemic, and a lot of people, they were surprised to see that Africa had a lot less cases and a lot less deaths concerning COVID. But it was just like they would automatically think, okay, Africa has to be the worst place. Africans have to be the sickest. But
Absolutely.
After so many years of seeing that negative information, because a lot of times, like when I first started traveling to Africa, say like 10 years ago, if you try to Google something, is Africa safe, or you want to visit a place in Africa, it would be disease, it would be rape, it would be murder. But when you do your research, like if you check like the Global Peaceful Index, You'll see countries like Ghana, countries like Botswana, Namibia are 2 or 3 times far more peaceful than the United States. Even some European countries, you know, but they don't show that side of it.
Right. They don't show that. And even in many of the countries where there's a lot of conflict, they don't show you the European connection to that conflict. So if we look at Congo, for example, you know, for many, many years, there's always been some war ongoing in Congo. But if you read the corporate media, the European media, they won't tell you that the Congo was a victim of invasion from 2 countries that are supposed to be brotherly or sisterly, Uganda and Rwanda. Those are neighboring countries. And that invasion was meant to clear the way for European companies to exploit the resources of the Congo. The gold, the diamond, the cobalt, you name it. And coltan. Coltan is a mineral that is found in almost every computer and cell phone. Right? So they're extracting these resources, and they're telling you, oh, this is some tribal war going on in Congo, when it's a very profitable, well-planned war, costing millions of African lives. And some of these companies, the European-American Canadian companies, they've been identified and even listed on the website of the United Nations. But the major media are not going to be writing about that. They're going to just say, oh, this is another one of those African wars. You know? See? I mean, I'm sure in the countries that you've traveled, you found the people to be naturally peaceful and friendly. And in fact, that was one of the problems in terms of colonization. Because many African people welcomed the Europeans. They didn't know Europeans had these ulterior motives. Because you know, obviously we have conflict in African countries too. But normally it's over some issues. I don't know of any African people who are traveling to other places and just plunging into war without any dispute or any issue. So they didn't realize the Europeans already had a plan to come with war in order to take over the land and the resources. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I've been all around the world, man. Africans are very hospitable, the most hospitable and friendliest, and most people that I've ever met. But a lot of African Americans, we don't really know our own history, let alone the history of 54 different nations. So we're not familiar with the scramble for Africa, the colonization of Africa, neo-colonialism. So only information that we've gotten our whole lives comes from this media source, and it's always negative. So like you say, they don't take the time out to explain, well, the Congo was ruled by the Belgians and they divided these people and made them fight each other. They don't tell all of that, you know.